Welcome to Soul Nation Soul Stories. This month we'll be talking to Janeen Bryant and Travis Manigan. We're focusing on the fact that environmental justice is education equity. Let's go ahead and listen in.
My name is Janeen Bryant. I am based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am really pleased to serve as the Director of Operations for CREED, which is the Center for Racial Equity in Education. I'm originally from South Carolina, and I came up here to go to school. The roots of environmental injustice and inequity are as deep as the educational inequity in North Carolina. And to counter one, we're going to have to counter the other as well. There is a deep history of injustice, and it's directly tied to all of these factors of our environment, our health, our education. If you are a person who is struggling to make a decision about whether to send your child out of the door to go to school because you're not sure what's outside of the door, and that could be for lots of reasons. I mean, in today's society, if you have a young Black child, you might be struggling with is if you live near a hog farm, is it safe to send them out to breathe that air? If you're struggling with educational inequity, you might be saying, is it safe to subject my child to that level of curriculum violence? If you're living in a place that's highly policed, you might be saying, is it safe to send my child out the door and they may be facing police involved violence? And I think we as Black parents and we as people who are seeking justice, I think there's so many things that unite us. So whether it's environmental justice or educational equity, I think we are working together to dismantle systems of oppression. And when those systems harm our children, we've got to stand up and work together to move the needle towards justice and towards equity and towards fairness. And we've got to say and ask the questions that keep us in the space and keep our heart in the space of being able to imagine new things. Like what does it feel like for my child to be able to breathe freely? And that means a lot of different things. We're not talking about how all this is playing together. And when I say playing, I mean all of these things are intersecting, and we don't elaborate on how we as individuals who are living in the state what we should know and how we should protect ourselves and our children. And that kind of suppression of knowledge is not just like a bad thing, it's a dangerous thing. And so at CREED, we try to make explicit the connection to the land and explicit to our connection to our understanding of ancestral knowledge and ancestral stewardship of land. So we start every meeting with a land acknowledgement. And we ground ourselves with the full knowledge that we are on the land, on the occupied territories of Indigenous people. We try to wholly embrace that there are communities here who had good stewardship processes and full acknowledgement of their relationship with the land, and that we are on land that has been colonized and stolen, and that many of our ancestors were also forced to work on this land. So this is all tied up. I mean, typically I think in a professional setting, we don't get to talk about this. And when we talk about education, people emphasize so much about the schoolhouse, the schoolroom, without necessarily acknowledging there is a deep history of injustice, and it's directly tied to all of these factors of our environment, our health, our education, our understanding of how to move through the world. All of it has been tied up in kind of limited access points to more information. And if we want to change it, we've got to push hard on those points. We've got to be willing to have fun and joy, and even as we are struggling and like fighting to find new ways of seeking justice. And we've got to be able to express appreciation and celebration for each other when we do win. We have to give ourselves permission to imagine a radically different future. We would love people to stay engaged with us. You can listen to our podcast called On the Margins podcast. You can subscribe to The Rewire, which is a great consolidation of educational resources and news. You can subscribe to the CREED newsletter by going to our website, which is creed-nc.org. And you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at CREED-NC. What you do need to know is that we have a really active hashtag that is I Stand on Freedom Hill. So if you are interested in knowing more about what we've been doing and ways you can get connected to us, it's easy to follow that hashtag and find more information.
Sure. My name is Travis Manigan. I'm the founder and CEO of a educational technology company called Game Plan, which is a college and career planning and engagement platform. Young people are what I consider the most precious resource a nation has. And education in and of itself is a measure that we can use as a community to say how much are we investing in the most precious resource that we have, and how can we create an experience that our greatest resource can actually receive the highest standard of education that there is to offer in the Western world. One of the most pressing existential threats that we have as a community is environmental injustice. And it also goes to educational equity as to how are we educating our greatest resource about this problem. And that's not too much to ask from educators. We have to coalesce and believe that we can get to a point where we destroy racism. And what are we going to have to do? We got to talk about what racism is. We got to put education around racism. You are the boss. This is your country. And you get to tell people what to do. You get to tell the people that make the decisions to protect your planet what to do, or you get rid of them. You fire them. You can wish and dream for greener pastures at different schools where poverty isn't so high, and et cetera, et cetera. But somebody has to, honestly, if you really love this country, do the hard work of going into these communities and being a beacon of light. And we should be an oasis for them. But if we're not an oasis in ourselves, it's hard to be an oasis for 30 to 90 kids a day. I think teachers are some of the greatest patriots in the world. I think they are on the front lines of societal issues and have a tough job of dealing with so many different cultures every single day. Organizations utilize our platform as an internal social network to program college and career readiness or whatever program they are looking to deploy to their young people, whether it's social, emotional, whether it's sports, anything, so that there's one platform that they use to chat, text, video conference with the student, the parent, and also for everyone to have one place where we can lift our students up in the digital space. Because right now, beyond the digital divide of them not having laptops, we are not connected to our young people in a meaningful way in the digital world, which is an entire different planet. There's a way for students to be totally in your presence, but not even paying you attention because they're on their phones. And it's like being on a different planet to me. So if we're not meaningfully operating in the digital space with the young people, then we are having a major misfire. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. It's all Game Plan Fam.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. If you liked the video, please leave a comment in the comment sections below. Click the like button, subscribe, and share the video to your friends and family. This has been a Soul Nation production from your producer, Julian Gordon.